Hey guys, it's your host Julian. This week I'm sitting down and chatting Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1 with Ricky from the Spoiler Force podcast. I want to give a special shout out to a couple of our patrons that help make this podcast possible. Bill, Brent, Brittany, Call Me Spiky, Eight-Legged Bird, Jacob, and Nick. Thank you all so much for your support. It truly means a lot. If you want to become a patron and help support this show, check the show notes below and sign up today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to What's My Head Podcast. I'm your host Julian. Today I'm joined by Ricky, man. Ricky, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's always a blast. You're by far one of my favorite people in the world and one of my favorite guests I've ever gotten to have the opportunity to have you on, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break from our Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and Disney cartoons, and we're going to go down an anime path. Like I told Ricky, he is my anime sensei. When he says something is good, something is good. And he talked Jujutsu Kaisen, and that's what we're going to talk season one. So, Ricky, break it down for the people that might not know and are interested in watching Jujutsu Kaisen season one.
Jujutsu Kaisen, or JJK as I like to call it. Um it's really just a shonen type anime like Bleach, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z. You got like your typical protagonist and his teammates and his teacher. They're fighting the villains, trying to save the world type ordeal. But I think Jujutsu Kaisen touches up on a lot of things that are really more in depth compared to the more modern day shonen right now. A lot of shock value because that's where a lot of the anime is going. A lot of shock value here and there, but we won't touch up on that until season two. So, but season one, man, is just a great way to start off. Like, if you're not into shonen anime or anything like that, like this is a good anime to start off with. Just if you're new to the anime scene, it's very straight to the point. There's no like obscene amount of episodes yet. But then I can say this, like there is a lot of characters involved, and I guess the thing that gives the viewer, I guess, the hardest part of understanding this story is just their powers. Like even I still don't really understand like the curse techniques and like the counters to what they have for each other. But overall, story's amazing. Fight scenes are amazing. It's animated by Mappa. Um, Gege Akutami is the writer. He's also I think he also, let me see. I'm trying to bring up his other. I don't want to get him confused with like another writer, because I get him and the Chainsaw Man writer mixed up a lot because they both kind of like do almost the same thing. But definitely check out the show on Crunchyroll. I think they just put it on Netflix too, so you can watch that
Mhm.
with the movie, and then yeah, or read the manga like I do, and catch up with the rest of the world.
So thanks for the breakdown. This one I started last year, and then I started with Hayden like I usually do with all the anime. And then for some reason it just I don't know what happened. Maybe it was probably Attack on Titan. We started watching Attack on Titan, and then this one kind of took a back seat unfortunately. And then I was home I had a vasectomy, and then I was like, man, I got nothing to watch. Like everybody's at work or everybody's at home or everybody's sleeping. I was waking up at weird hours, and I was like, well, I'll just watch an episode of Jujutsu Kaisen. I started at like 10:30 and it's like 4:45, 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so fucking good. And I look over the clock, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to sleep for the rest of the day. Might as well keep going. And I banged out that first episode in probably like 3 days, maybe something like that. Watched it all on Crunchyroll. Um, I'm usually not a guy that likes a whole bunch of gore. I've tried Chainsaw Man. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just a pussy as I've gotten older. Not a lot of gore, man, but this one was art. It was tastefully done. I'm not saying Chainsaw Man isn't, but this one, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the characters, maybe it was the storyline. It was just something that I'd never really seen before. There's a lot of comparisons, at least what I've heard from other people talking this and Demon Slayer. But this one just seemed like different than what was going on. And then, it started winning all of these awards for season two. So I'm like, man, there's something here. I got to check it out. So when you start watching the anime, have you already pre-gamed with the manga at that point, or did you start with the anime and then went back and watched the manga or read the manga?
Yeah, it was like I think it was like the first or second or third year when I was doing the podcast, and I made a post saying like, hey, I need some new anime or manga recommendations. And at the time, this is when like people were saying, oh, you got to check out Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man. Like those were the
Hmm.
two that people were throwing out there, and I was like just starting the JJK manga, and then like right when I started reading it, that's when season one dropped. So I was like, you know, I'll
Mhm.
just wait. I'll wait till the
Yeah.
season one's done and see how I feel before I jump on into the manga. Um, and I was hooked. Like, and also fun fact, like, Gege Akutami is also inspired by Bleach for this
Oh, okay.
anime. So if you catch on like to his art style or like how certain characters are, there are a lot of like Bleach and other anime references in the show too, which I thought was really cool. He gives props to like all his other peers that he respects in this anime. But yeah, I got hooked right away. And um like I said, the only thing that was like hard about this anime was just trying to remember some of the characters' names, because there's a lot of characters, but like, you know, like Attack on Titan, you don't know who's the main until like they keep
Yeah.
re-showing them. And then the curse techniques, like the powers, like this was probably the most confusing set of powers that's like been shown. I'm just like, okay, so they can just do whatever they want at this
Yeah.
point.
There's nothing to chain them down. So I'm glad you brought up Attack on Titan because I had that same like oh shit moment in this one that I did with Attack on Titan. So whatever it was, like episode like 6 or whatever it was of Attack on Titan, when you see Aaron floating through and he gets eaten, and Hayden and I are looking at each other like, did the main character just fucking die? It was the same thing with Itadori when he gets his heart ripped out of his, spoilers, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't figured it out, we're gonna talk spoilers. But it was one of those moments. It's like, oh my God. So I guess this guy isn't alive. And then he wakes up, a little while later, scratching his head or whatever in the whatever the fuck they call that play, the morgue. Um, but something I wanted to touch on before we deep dive into Jujutsu Kaisen. Since you said there was a lot of homages here, a lot of like this guy paying tribute to the people that came before him or whoever inspired him. You got one or two that you can pick out that you absolutely loved, like going like, oh my God, I saw that. Anyone stick out?
It's really like just for Yuji, it's definitely Yuji. You see a lot of like a lot of similarity to Ichigo from Bleach, the main character from Bleach.
Hmm.
Like he's really just fighting for his friends. He doesn't really, he's not seeking like, he's not like Goku where he's seeking power or strength.
Hmm.
He just wants to protect his friends and his loved ones from evil or from the villains. Um I mean, like, and then they're fighting ghosts. You know, it's kind of
Yeah.
like Bleach to Bleach. They're fighting like spirits and hollows and all that stuff. So there's a lot of similarities there. I think I think there were some animation homages to like I forgot if it was in season one, but I know in season two there's like homages to like My Hero and
Hmm.
um I forgot, like maybe like another anime. It's not. I can't think about it from the top of my head, but like there's definitely like certain moments that's like very. Oh no. Evangelion, and that's in season
Hmm.
two. There's scenes in there that's showing homage to like Evangelion too. So
Yeah.
you'll see when you get there, Julian. You'll see it. I don't know if you watch
Mm.
Evangelion or I know you watch My Hero, but I don't know if you watch
Oh yeah.
Evangelion. But you'll see those homages there, and it's really cool to see that like the animators kind of pay respect to, you know, the previous animators and all that stuff too. Like there's just like certain stills or shots that are like iconic in anime that they kind of just like pay tribute to.
Well, if my Shonen Sensei says I have to watch that one, I'm gonna have to watch that one too. I'll put it up on the board and put it up on the list. Um, so let's just get down to it, man. I figure we can start with the characters. What are three of your favorite characters from the first season?
Oh man, there's a lot to really like unwrap here, because like with season one is just you're getting like just the introduction and taste of who these characters are. And like I said, you won't you won't really appreciate them until season two.
Hmm.
So when you get there, you'll understand where I'm coming from. But like for now, season one, my favorite character was Gojo. Off rip,
Oh,
like the end of the first
so
episode, he
badass.
shows up. Yep. Like honestly, because when I read the first chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, you know, Gojo's the first one, is one of the first characters you see. He has Yuji tied up, and he's like,
Hmm.
you know, he got to kill you type of deal, in that flashback. But like, man, he's just fucking badass, dude. His
Yeah.
powers are badass. He's just a really cool character, really cool teacher, very goofy at times,
Hmm.
insanely strong. And yeah, he's like the best teacher in that show. So he's definitely number one for season one. My second favorite character has to be Nobara.
Hmm.
She's so fucking badass, dude. Like the finale fight where
Yeah.
her and Yuji fight the Poison Brothers or
Mm.
the Curse Spirit Brothers. She won me with that. Like I've always liked her. Like I thought she was always unique, with the hammer and the nails and her curse technique. But with that scene where she was poisoned and then she was playing chicken too, she's like, all right, if I, if I'm going down, you're going down with me. So she was like
You go, I
hammering
go.
herself with the nails.
Hmm.
Yeah, and like, and shout out to Ann Yatko too, because I've talked to her on my show about like being Nobara. Because when I spoke with her, it was just right like a month or two right after the season one ended. So we were like
Hmm.
hyped on like how cool Nobara was, and then like you see all the cosplayers doing like the curse mark on her, like with the like the black tribal tattoo
Yeah.
on her. A lot of cosplayers are doing that. Um, so yeah, Nobara is really cool. And I say number three, I gotta go with Toto, man. The guy with
My
the clap
man.
ability. Yeah, Toto, dude. Toto is crazy. Um, but he's so cool. Like he's very
Yes.
similar to Kenpachi in Bleach, who's like
Hmm.
another a big character, physically big character that like bullies the main character, and then because him and Ichigo fight in Bleach, and then like he tests Ichigo, and eventually throughout the show, he just whenever he's on screen, it's like, oh my god, it's him. So that's how I feel about Toto. Like he's just fucking badass, and then when you see him fight with Yuji against Hanami, fucking amazing fight scene.
Bro. So we're gonna talk fight scenes, and I want you to remember that the season finale, because that one got something that I want to touch on shortly. So for my three characters, man, Gojo, 100%, that I loved the sarcasm, the wit, the inability to be sped up or slowed down. He always fought his fight, right? Which I think is something that you could probably talk to as well, just, doing the Muay Thai thing. Like you always want to fight your fight. You don't want to fight somebody else's fight because that's when you typically lose. He could never be sped up, and then just the sarcasm that he'd have when he was fighting these demons. Especially I can't remember his name, but the dude with the volcano for the head,
Oh,
and he's like,
Jogo.
"Oh, yeah, let me
Like
show
all
you
their
why
names
you
are
didn't hit
similar,
me."
dude. It's
Yeah,
insane. That's what I'm telling you. Like it gets confusing. There's Gojo, Jogo, Toto, and who else? Like it's insane.
yeah, it was just I loved how he was like, "Oh, you're still here. Let me show you why you didn't hit me." So I loved that whole fight sequence. The one you were talking about with Itadori and Toto and was it Hanami?
Yeah.
Okay, the first season is always the hardest because I watch it, and then usually by season two and season three, I've got them dialed in because there's just so many fucking names getting thrown at you. But I loved that fight sequence as well, man. So we'll talk about that episode as well, or that whole fight arc. The second one being Panda. During that
Oh,
whole
nice.
entrance exam or whatever it was, dude, when he went straight monkey mode and he did gorilla panda or whatever the fuck that was considered, I was like, oh my fucking God, this is so cool. Just him switching. And that whole, I think it might have been just like one episode, or it might have even been a half an episode, but where he was fighting, what's the robot's name? Do you remember the robot's name?
Mekamaru.
Mekamaru. Like I loved that fucking story. Like that could have been like two episodes worth, just him how he ended up, and then how he has to kind of, use this robot as a drone from a bathtub because he can't take sunlight, he can't take natural, he can't take anything because it'll just destroy his body, even more so than it is. So that whole fight sequence, because you look at Panda and you think, oh man, he's the comic relief. He's the Chris Farley of fucking characters, right? He's gonna fall
Yeah.
down, make some jokes. He's got a big old belly, and then, like I said, you see him go monkey mode, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so fucking cool, right? Um, so I loved his character. I hope no spoilers, of course, but I mean, even though you're spoiler force podcast host, you know what I mean? Uh, does he play a predominant role in the second season? Is he
Not
around?
really.
Oh,
Not really.
bullshit. I
You
hope he
probably
gets.
won't see more. Like he's there, but like
Mm.
story wise, I'd say season three is where you get more of his backstory.
Yeah, I really want to. I really want to see like his early. I'm hoping it's not like Rocket Raccoon and Guardians 3, where I'm just gonna be fucking sad as hell the entire time, and he was experimented on and all this other shit. I hope that's not the case because that was sad. But third favorite character, Toto for sure. Dude, that whole fight sequence with him and the like once they explained his thing, because it was just really weird. And I thought it was like maybe it was just like a shitty, not shitty dub in a sense, like there was no really words to translate what he was trying to say. But then you look at some of the stuff, he's like, no, he's really interested in like what kind of girl you're into because of this one chick. And I'm like, okay, it makes sense. I was like, because it caught me off guard. The first episode you see him, he's getting ready to fight Fushiguro, and I'm like, that's a really weird premise to like hate somebody or to want to beat somebody's ass about. You know what I mean? It's just like this is weird. Let's see where it goes though. And then you see him with Itadori, and like he was like, no, we're best friends. And Itadori's like, when the fuck did I? When did this happen? When did we become friends? You know, so I loved that whole like give and go relationship, the playfulness of him, but the seriousness because he could flip that switch really quickly. You know, so hands down, man, the characters were solid. So let's talk episodes, man. What are your three favorite episodes or three favorite moments if you can't really hone in on three episodes from this first season?
Um, I would go with moments because like I can't
Mhm.
recall certain episode numbers. I'd say my favorite moment would probably be the finale fight with
Mhm.
Yuji, Nobara, and then the Curse brothers. Just because like how it ended off that season, like it was just fucking amazing seeing their
Mhm.
teamwork. I love them. I love how they show like Nobara is not just some typical female character. Like she's badass. Like she
Mhm.
fights on her own. She's tough. She's not like dependent on Yuji or Megami. Like she can hold her own. So I that's why she's one of my favorite characters too. Second favorite moment would have to be when Nanami and Yuji beat up Mahito. Dude, like when they jump him, like that's
Yeah.
probably one of my favorite moments because like
Why is he
Nanami,
bleeding? I kicked him in the face.
yeah. Have you seen like the fan dubs, right? Where they use the audio from another clip where like the
Yes.
guys being jumped in the gang?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think of when I see that
Fight
scene
back,
now.
bitch.
You're
Fight
like,
back. Yeah.
yeah, fight back. So like I think of that all the time now. And plus, like that was a very crucial part into the story too.
Mhm.
Like seeing how Nanami, because like Nanami's like an honorable mention for favorite characters too. Because like he's very like he hates life kind of,
Mhm.
but then he realizes like, and you're like, I can't keep like the life is too precious to protect because if I don't protect these people, I'm not gonna have anything left. So he has to go back to work and do the things that
I
he
love the
he
whole
doesn't
man. I
want
got
to
to
do.
clock in right now. I love the whole
Yeah.
man. I got to clock in.
So that was another good moment. And then I say my man, it's very tough. I say my third favorite moment would have to be Megami when he does the domain expansion
Mm.
because
Mhm.
it gives you like a good tease of what his powers are because he comes from like one of the big three families.
Mhm.
So he has like all like the shadow summons and all that stuff. And then like the narrator kind of like I think the narrator says like where his domain is incomplete still. So
Mhm.
it kind of gives you like an idea of man, well, how powerful could he be if once he completes his domain or once he masters his skill set. And then you kind of see like Megami is pretty crazy too. Like shout out to both actors for dubbing stuff because Robbie Damon did a really good job in that scene, giving like Megami that chaotic side of him where he's just
Mhm.
like, you know, it's like fine if
Unhinged.
I yeah if I yeah exactly if I'm dying then I'm going all out. So
Yeah.
I that's what I love about this show too is like all the good guys are like on edge and then like they're at the breaking point of life and death and then you see like the villains having a beach episode and
Yeah.
drinking tea and shit. Like, it's complete opposite.
Oh man, 100%. Favorite moment and favorite episode for sure was that was it a two-part finale or whatever it was? You know, one leads into the next. Um, I think the it was probably my favorite moment in the entire series, like so far, entire series, entire season, first season, because it was so beautiful. Because it showed that when you think demons, you think of cursed spirits, you think there's nothing good about them. They have no empathy, they have no compassion, they have no nothing. And then to see the two brothers, the two from the two of the three, like legitimately cry because his brother is dying and then I'll see you in the afterlife type of thing. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
legitimately sad that they're being split. I was like, that just showed that was like a Shrek moment, man. There's onions, right? There's layers. And then you see all of these layers start getting peeled back. Not in all of them, because every single one of them has a different motivation. But up until that point, you were just led to believe there's nothing there for them. In my opinion, if that was me, like just trying to put some emotional baggage on Itadori, even though he doesn't really need it, he sees that, and if that was me, that would fuck with me because it's like, dude, I've been led to believe that all of these guys are just bad. Like you see that dilemma, you see that conflict or that inner conflict, and maybe I'm just reading too much into it. But when I look at Itadori and the way he was talking, the way he was interacting with everybody, the way he was explaining, that whole scenario that him and Navarre just went through, it's just like, man, there's a lot more complexity to these demons than they've actually shown. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Maybe it was just those two because they were brothers and they were connected because they were connected at birth. Maybe that's a one shot type thing. Won't know until we get further in the series. But I thought that was a very way of humanizing the demon character, which I wasn't expecting whatsoever. And it really took me by surprise. And I remember sitting back watching that episode. And I'm like, I gotta kind of go back and rewatch this shit. The fight sequences was phenomenal. Like I said, when she was playing chicken, I'm like, holy shit, is she gonna go all the way and just kill herself in this one? Is that what it's gonna be? Is she gonna go plus ultra? And she didn't, of course. And then I just rewatched that fight sequence a couple times and then watched that ending. And like I said, I was just fucking blown away. I was just like, I was left speechless. Couldn't really think about it. Had to sit and let it marinate, for a couple of days and really think about it. But yeah, phenomenal episode. The next one was obviously that fight sequence between Panda and fuck Mechamaru. Is that what it was?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Got crushed it. That I loved that fight sequence. I love seeing everything unfold. It was really, really cool. Won't spend too much more time on that because I already blew my load when I said, oh man, when he went monkey mode, that gorilla, that was so cool. Seeing just all that different, like he's got three of them in there. So just getting to see like that split personality, or he can turn into or turn down or turn up when he needs to was pretty cool. And then the third moment, I always fuck up this one's name. The one that has the oh shit, Toto and Itadori were fighting him in the village in the
Hanami, right? The tree.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that
That
was a good
was
good fight scene too. Because like that, like I said, it's hard to pick like favorites because there's so many good ones. But
hmm
just like this Hanami's fight scene with just strictly Yuji and Toto was really good because you got to see them both work together.
yeah.
And like if you look back at it, they just met, and Toto
hmm
was like teaching Yuji like how to do certain things too. So
Yeah.
at like it's kind of like he's coaching Yuji like how to use his powers and when to attack and like work in formation type of deal because
hmm
Toto's the senior, and it was just cool seeing that because you see Economy like whoop everyone else's ass. Like
Yeah.
he took out the
Fushiguro.
bloodbender guy for Shigeru. He took out Toge, so they were like all on edge, and then towards the end where Gojo shows up and saves the day.
Yeah. Dude, that was such a
And that's a good moment too. The hollow purple. Oh my god.
bruh. When he pulled up that when he I really wished like you wouldn't have seen like what was underneath the mask because I've been such a huge fan even before anime, like the whole blind swordsman type of thing. So for the longest time I was like, oh, this dude's just operating off of like pure sense. And to an extent he is, but when he lifted it up and then he's got gorgeous eyes, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, come on. He doesn't have to be any cooler. He doesn't have to have these fucking pearly white eyes. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh, come on. I wanted him to be blind in a sense. So yeah, that sequence when he just pops up, I felt like I was like, dude, I could have went like three more episodes with this fight. This was my favorite fight in the entire series. It was really cool. It was really great choreography, excuse me. Just I loved Toto sitting in the back. He's like, I'm just gonna let him kill you if you don't do this. I'm like, I'm gonna end up killing him, but you're gonna die in the process. Figure it out, sink or swim, bitch. That's what he was going for. Um, yeah, I loved this fight sequence. So we've done obviously characters. We've obviously done moments. What was a surprise? Obviously, you said you read something, but was there a surprise in there that you really weren't expecting to be as big on the big screen, but it ended up being big?
For season one, I'd say the
Mhm,
biggest surprise was and the biggest slap in the face was the Junpei moment.
mhm,
Because Junpei is in the intro, at the end of the intro, where you see Yuji and Junpei sitting together at the picnic.
mhm.
And then they just take him out. Like
Yeah.
Mahito kills him. And oh, I wanted to mention this too. And you were the one that was like very nice enough to introduce me to Adam MacArthur because he
Mhm,
voiced Yuji. Because for the fans who don't know who's listening, Julian was nice enough to let me get my first voice actor on my show, and it happened to be Adam MacArthur, who was voicing Yuji in Jujutsu Kaisen. Um, so like that was I when I spoke with Adam MacArthur about it, it was just around this part where Junpei dies, and so like I thought this was a very like crucial and serious moment in Jujutsu Kaisen, because you kind of see someone who gets bullied, who gets the power to do something about it, and then right when he's about to turn things around with Yuji, Mahito's like, nope, transforms him and kills him. And like you're kind of like with anime intros and outros, like you're expecting to see like one, spoilers because they always do that, two, characters in those intros tend to be the ones that are like focused on our main characters. But then, like I said, with Junpei being at the end of it, it was just like a slap in the face, because you think he's gonna live and he dies, and so
Yeah.
Yuji couldn't save him, and that was a big moment for me that like surprised me the most.
That so I don't really have a moment as much as like I'm like I had to go back and rewatch. So the episode before that one, when he's just following him around trying to like, play detective. Um, I really feel like I skipped an episode in between there because it goes from like, oh, we're gonna do a little light detective work to like, oh my God, this like we're fighting everything and like like the shit hits the fan right at that moment.
Yeah,
Like when he mutates him or evolves him, whatever you want to call it, just completely destroys him in front of Itadori. I'm like, oh my God. And then you see him go ballistic. He was trying to save this kid. It was that whole Batman. He's like, I won't break that one rule. I won't kill. You saw him break that. He's like, well, I have to kill in order to survive. I have to take this guy out. You know what I mean? So it was really cool seeing them not so much they shook his morality essentially. That was the
yeah,
moment he needed to either go full bore or go back home. Obviously, he couldn't go back home because he was the vessel for Sukuna, but it was that last push over the edge, if you will, to get him on the path that they needed him to be on. I was blown away by it. Yeah, I haven't read the manga yet, so I really can't give you my like, oh my God, that was crazy moment, other than like it was just a really really cool anime.
that's
There
the
is one
start
thing.
of like crazy moments, I'd say,
Yeah.
because when, like I
Oh,
said, when you get
100%.
this, yeah, when you get to season two and further in the manga, like it gets more wild than that,
Hmm.
because like it also shows you like I wanted to mention this too, because like you see Yuji like get desperate enough to ask Sukuna of all people to
Hmm.
help him, and he's like,
Yes,
Sukuna,
which I
help
thought
me,
was really
and
cool.
yeah, he's like, help me, and we can do this, and Sukuna's like, no.
Nah, nah, bruh.
And that's the thing I like about Sukuna, is because you know he's not so much my favorite character in season one, because like everyone knows he's like one of the main villains. He's just kind of
Hmm.
like in the background, but like he really is a villain. Like everyone, like Naruto is a good example. Everyone wants like Naruto and the Fox Kurama to be best friends, and at the end they are. They become best friends. They work together. They save the world. With Yuji and Sukuna, it's completely different. Sukuna hates Yuji because
Hmm.
he's keeping Sukuna inside, so Sukuna can't do much. And so like when Yuji's like, help me, Sukuna, then I'll make like a vow with you or something like that. And Sukuna's just like, nope, not helping
Nah,
you.
bruh.
Yeah. And so I love that. It's just like,
Yeah.
damn, like there's no, you know, it's not like the typical shonen where it's like the hero can talk the villain to being like a
Hmm.
friend or
A
an ally.
redeemable quality.
Yeah, Sukuna is just straight up villain. He doesn't care.
Hmm. When when that moment happens, I'm like, oh, this is where Sukuna is going to have a heart. And then he's like, nah, fam, I can't do it. I'm not
Yeah.
going to do it. So sorry. Bye. He's dead. Which I thought, like I said, it was like you needed that moment of seeing him transform the kid, the kid who was trying to save, transform. And you also needed that moment. I really think it was like a 1A to 1B type of thing. You needed both for him to go, I've literally got nobody that is going to help me. I have to do this by myself. Because I think without that moment, like if you've always got somebody that you can depend on, I really feel like you're not as advantageous to go out and try something. Like if perfect example, if you know that no matter what you go out and do, if you can go back to mom or you can go back to dad and say, hey, I need money, I fucked up. Very, 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 very far and few between are you going to actually make a risk. It's going to be a calculated risk, but it's not going to be a real risk. But if you know that you could go one or the other way, you have that chance of, you know, possibly fucking it up at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So I really felt like he needed to be pushed that one step further. That way he knew he could never count on Sukuna. So that way it wasn't one of those things where it's like, all right, I've got this guy. I can let him out of the cage. No, no,
Yeah,
no. I've got to worry about me. I can't worry about anybody else. I have to do this myself. So I thought it was a necessary evil, no pun intended, that he, like I said, he needed to have that final push over the cliff to make him realize, like, hey, this is real shit. You can't be fucking around. You can't have one foot in, one foot out. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I thought it was like a really cool moment, even though it was really fucked up because he could have stopped everything because you see how powerful he is when shit man, what's the guy's name that was mutating? I need to
Oh,
remember these fucking
Junpei
Junpei
or
when he
Oh no, you
touches
mean Mahito, the curse.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always
When Mahito touches him, and like you see,
yes,
he gets into the realm of Sukuna.
uh-huh,
Yeah,
dude,
it was
him
sad.
sitting up at that throne and him just looking down, and
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like, that is one of the most badass moments. He's just like, if you ever touch me or enter this place again, I will destroy. So you see the power differential between
oh yeah,
him, even with two or three fingers, whatever it was at that point, and him just grow like Mojito was in his he's like in his teenage phase, right? He's starting to grow into his body. He hasn't hit that peak man or peak female scent yet, like what kids do when they become teenagers into men and women. So he hasn't really grown into his body yet, and he's still trying to figure out what he can do, what his power limit is, or what the limit to his power is. So it was just really cool seeing that, nah, son, you still got a long way to go. Fuck off, essentially, is what he said. So I thought that was really, really cool. And then it could go one of two ways. Either he could be like super bummed that he's not that strong, or he could get super motivated. And he got this latter of the two. He was like, oh man, there's levels to this shit. So I need to grow up some to be able to do what he just did to me. So yeah, that was a really good. I'm glad you brought that one up because I completely forgot about that. Like I said, just sitting on that, what is it, like skeletons or bones or whatever it is, him just sitting
yeah.
up
It's like
there
there's
and
like a
just
mountain of his throne is just built on like bones and corpses.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was such a badass moment, like just sitting. He's so unfazed by him coming in. It's just like I can destroy you, snap of my fingers. I'm gonna let you go because I don't really want to deal with this right now. Just knowing he could be sassy, I like that a
yeah.
lot. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah,
So, all right.
Sukuna's a great villain, man. He's one of the few that I like that stays a villain. He doesn't
Mhm,
Nothing changes him, nothing like really affects him. Like the only one he like worries about a little bit is just Gojo because at
yeah.
this moment he's not complete. He doesn't have all his fingers, so he knows Gojo has a power advantage at this point in time,
Mhm,
and then he's got to worry about Yuji because he's like, oh shit, like this kid can contain me. Like
yeah.
this is new, you know. So the fact that Yuji can contain him is what's like making him think. Now he has to be very intellectual with and calculated with his choices and what he does, and that's why like even with when he was testing Megami, and he
Mhm,
was like, I'm just trying to see what your powers are, and I can say this without spoiling too much. That's gonna come back full circle when
yeah.
with him and Megami. You'll see why he's interested in Megami later on, but it's just like him playing games with Yuji too. Like when he takes out Yuji's heart,
Mhm,
and then Yuji's like right before Yuji's dying, he tells Yuji like, hey, we can do a binding vow, you know, and I'll let you live, but when you got to let me have this one moment, and when I do, you can't remember it,
yeah.
and that's how deceiving he is. And Yuji's a dumb teenager. Okay, I'll do it. I gotta be alive for my friends. He takes the
Yeah.
deal, so that's how crazy Sukuna is, man. Like he's always thinking like he has to like you said, he's
Chess, not checkers.
selfish. Yeah, he's selfish, dude. This guy is all about himself. He doesn't care. And that's the similar to Gojo too, because like imagine being that powerful where you don't have to worry about like your enemies or you
Hmm.
know like Gojo is so powerful, like he knows the school can't, they cannot stop him
Yeah.
if he wanted to. That's why like the old when he makes fun of the old man, the principal and all that, he does whatever he wants because he's like a kid with the freaking rocket launcher.
Hmm. Yeah. When I played Call of Duty, that's the only thing I ran around with. I called it. I had the build. It was a rocket launcher and a pistol, or a rocket launcher and a knife, and I nicknamed it the panty dropper, because whenever you use a rocket launch, I love small maps too because I can't aim fast with these kids. So I would see one go by and I would just sit down and then you see that one come by, then they try to come over and snipe because they think you're idle and shit. And a couple of them, and I would hit fire in the hole, blow them up, and you get two of them. So they get pissed off because they just got rocket launched to death, and then you have a whole bunch of guys come over. When eventually I'd die again, but it is what it is. Another moment, and then we'll wrap it up right after this. But another moment that I was blown away by was the old dude when the old dude became the fucking he threw up the horns and he started rocking
Oh yeah,
on
with
he's
the
just started
guitar.
shredding. I'm like, what the fuck? Where did this come from? Then I start going back. I'm like, was there any hints to this? Do you see like a Black Label Society, or do you see like you see like any kind of tight pants? Like nothing was fucking said. It was just one of those things that was like it'd be cool if we made this dude like an old punk rocker. That's what we should do. You know what I mean? So I thought it was a pretty cool moment. With season one, man, 1 out of 5 Sukuna fingers. How many Sukuna fingers are you gonna give to season one?
Well, when I first watched it, I would have said 5, but
Hmm.
after like the movie in season 2, I'd give it a 4 because
Yeah.
it's definitely more world building.
Hmm.
So it's I can't say without spoiling, man, because like I'm telling you, once you get to season 2, you'll understand where I'm coming from. Because like
Yeah.
season 2 just takes off, and season it makes season 1 looks like a kid show. So season 1's a great way to like get introduced into the show, into the world of
Hmm.
Jujutsu Kaisen, the world of the spirits, and like the curse techniques and all of that. But yeah, I'd say as of right now, I give it a 4 out of 5, just because the movie and season 2 are like above it.
We'll probably have the same because I've heard nothing but stellar reviews from season two. So I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 right now because I don't have the context of seeing the movie and the second season yet. But I had such fun with it, man. Like I said, I'm not really into too much gruesome, dark, dark type of stuff. But this one, it rode that balance very well from being lighthearted and then it's a lot like life. It's not black, it's not white. There's a lot of
Yeah.
gray, so it rode that line very well, and I think it hit when it needed to be funny, and it was sad when it needed to be sad, and then it brought you back up, and it made you mad, and it took you through that whole just lexicon of emotions, right, from everything you could possibly think of. I had a lot of fun with it. I'm really looking forward to season two. Like I said, sumo's going on right now, day 4. It just wrapped up, so I've been
Oh man, I had to get back
preoccupied.
into watching that. I
Bro,
forgot about it.
I want you to watch this so I can have somebody else to talk with, dude. I have it's such a niche sport. It's getting bigger and bigger each time, or each boss show every other month. But it's like there's something about two big dudes that have amazing footwork, amazing flexibility, and then they just hit each other with the force of two trucks hitting each other head on. And it's just like you see the dexterity, you see the flexibility, you see the speed. It's just not like two big dudes just like hitting each other. It's like you have to be calculated with this stuff. That's why I fucking love it. But that's for another episode, man. But I really want you to get back into it. NHK app, Ricky, go ahead and download it.
Yeah,
It's
I think
free.
I think I still have it. Let me check my phone real quick. I
Yeah,
think I
like I
still
said,
have it.
day 4 is just launched, and then it's 28 minutes if you want to watch the recap. So they do every match, and then they wrap it up. That's how I'm watching it now. I can't really watch it live because I'm at work when we're 14 hours behind Japan in Florida, so can't really watch it live. But yeah, man, every night during the Basho, I'm always tuned in, seeing if my favorite Rikishi are doing well. Like I said, man, this has been a lot of fun, but I would remiss to not ask you this last question. So every time there's been an anime that I've asked you about, whether it was thumbs up, thumbs down, man, check it out or not, I always go to you, man. So you're a perfect source. Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and check out Spoiler Force Podcast. You can follow Ricky on all of the Instagrams. Those links will be in the description down below. So just point, click, and go tell them what you thought. But I've gotten so many fantastic recommendations from you. I have not had one bad recommendation when it comes to anime or manga. So I'll ask you this question because I know I haven't asked you this one before. So old school within the last 20 years and then something that's new, whether it's manga or anime, right? So if you go old school, maybe like 80s, 90s. What's one that you think should come out of the mothballs and somebody should check out, whether it's manga or anime? Does that one stick out to you?
Oh man, if you want to go old school, I think re, like this is a very like typical choice. Only because it's very like it's part of like anime history as well. And
Hmm.
I spoke with an actress that was on the show that dubbed the show on Netflix too. But Neon Genesis Evangelion,
Hmm.
classic anime. It's up there with like Cowboy Bebop and all like that kind of anime. It was during that time where like the robots and all that stuff, the kaiju.
Hmm.
Um, like so that's a good way to that's a I it's like that's a main piece of anime history that you gotta at least watch to appreciate anime overall. It's
Yeah.
historic. I'd say that, and plus my cousin Bobby,
Hmm.
he loves that show. Like we watched because it's been redone quite a few times, and I think the movie we watched in theaters last year or the year before was like it was the author's version of what he wanted to end.
Yeah.
So it gets confusing with like the times and like the timelines and all that stuff, but it's definitely a good watch. It's very, like I said, it's very iconic. The characters
Hmm.
are very recognizable. um yeah, so Neon Genesis Evangelion would be my hist, or
Old
I guess you
school.
could say old school one, and
Yeah.
something modern right now.
We'll go
Um,
last 20 years and then we'll finish it with something that's maybe the last couple years. Something maybe from early 2000s.
oh, dude, I think I mentioned this to you before. But Konosuba, like
Yes.
it's an isekai themed anime, but it's hilarious. Um, just because the main protagonist is like he's very modern day ish.
Hmm.
So like his mindset, like he gets reincarnated into the world, but he still has the mindset of today. So like there's a line he says, like, if you believe in like equal rights, then I'm not afraid to drop kick a girl. Like he says it in a comedic way. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't mean like he will, but he uses it to threaten the people. Like he's like, you can't be pushing all this stuff on me because like
Hmm.
I'm an equal opportunist. I'm not afraid to hit a girl either. So he's hilarious. Like I watch it in sub because the actors in sub are levels above and no
Yeah.
hate to the dub actors, but the sub actors are levels above the dub actors for this show.
Hmm.
The writing's hilarious. It's based off a light novel, which I haven't finished reading yet, but I think I know the ending already. Um, but season 3 is currently playing right now. I have to catch up on that. There's 2 seasons, a movie, and then there's like a like a 12 episode side anime on one of the characters. And then season 3 is playing right now. It's absolutely hilarious. Konosuba is one of my favorite comedic animes to go to. It's such a good way to like step back from all the
Hmm.
serious shows, and then just to watch something goofy like this, where like the protagonist has to work with his team, and they're all like, he's got a useless goddess on his team. Like, all she can do is heal, and most of the trouble they run into is because of her. And then he has a crazy mage. She has one technique, and when she does her technique, she runs out of MP, so she's done for the battle. And then he has a knight where she can't hit a single thing, and is like, she's a masochist, so I
Yeah.
think that's the right word, where she gets off on pain and
Yes.
humiliation. So like he's got to deal with like those three, and it's absolutely hilarious.
And then what about maybe the last couple years? What's one you'd throw out there?
Last couple. Oh, and actually, that was my one for the last couple years.
Okay.
Um, so old school is Evangelion.
Hmm.
Recent one is Konosuba, and then I guess what, something in the 2000s, you said.
Yeah, early
Um,
2000s, maybe 2004, 2005 or somewhere around there.
hmm. I don't know if it's around that time, but let me just look up. I don't want to. There was one anime series that I liked watching that was on Netflix. I think there's a live action one now too. That's hold on. Okay, so this one is it's not like 2004, 2000. This is more like 20 mid 2010s.
Hmm.
Parasite the Maxim.
Hmm.
It's a one season anime. And then there's like a live action sequel to it. I believe it's a sequel on Netflix. Um, but Parasite the Maxim was a good one. That this one caught me off guard because like I always heard about it. I just never like I just didn't make this like the initial step to watch it. And then when I did, I binged it all in a day. So this one's a pretty good one. It's about like a monster who takes a parasite that takes over the character's hand because
Hmm.
he stops like the full transformation on himself. So like his hand becomes like this secondary entity, and then he gets powers from it, and then he slowly like it kind of like it touches up on the themes of like humanity.
Yeah.
So like I like that a lot, and it's a good show. But you could probably get it done if you have time. You could probably watch it within like a weekend because it's not
I
too long.
I wonder if the guy that created this one was a fan of a movie called Idle Hands. So this guy gets I think it's the devil reincarnated, and it gets into his hand, and then he goes and he kills his mom. It's like a funny, like Seth Green is in it. Um, it's in a hilarious movie, funny fucking movie. Guy ends up cutting his hand off. You know, he's a teenager, he's in high school. The movie, or the movie is just fun. It's late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere around there. I'll send you a link for the trailer. He ends up cutting his hand off, trying to nuke it. It pisses it off, so it's just going around killing people at the dance. It's I wonder if that was an inspiration for that anime. So I'm not well versed in anime as Ricky is here, but I have seen some stuff that's pretty cool. Old school, I think you can consider old school Cowboy Bebop, man.
Yep.
Fucking love it. That is the bar that I measure everything against. You know, Samurai Jack, as far as animation goes, what I measure everything against. On this side, when it comes to anime, Cowboy Bebop and Attack on Titan is pretty fucking close when it comes to the measuring stick, especially that final two seasons. Um, so Cowboy Bebop, I'm gonna cheat here, and then because it's just something I've been just hooked on the last couple months. One Piece. I know it's kind of close to Cowboy Bebop, but I've had so much fun with the characters and the story. I've had a lot of good times watching it with my son. And then most recent, man, fucking My Hero. My Hero
Oh
Academia. I
yeah,
know it's
yeah,
been out for some time,
yeah.
but this one really like kickstarted my like what's the word I'm looking for? Fever? No, that's not really. I guess this one kickstarted my willingness to try and watch more anime, because I've had so much fun with these characters, man. The storyline is always fun. I think I've cried more at that series than any other show, including, traditional style animation, than I've cried in it ever, right? So it hits you in the feels. It's got heart, it's got laughter, it's got oh shit moments, it's got everything you could possibly want. So those are the three. Well, like I said, Ricky, man, this is always a blast when I get to have you on. I can't wait to do, ladies and gentlemen, we just talked My Hero, but we're going to do a half season and full season recap with Ricky, Brandon, and Ty. We're going to try to see if we can get Sean in on that one too, if he's caught up. But I'm really looking forward to having you back on for not only season two of Jujutsu Kaisen, but also of the current season of My Hero Academia. Well, he's been Ricky. I've been Julian. It's been the What's My Head podcast, and this has been another piece of your childhood. Good night.